Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Hours, hours. Not hours. Not hours. So, spot the problem. Really? Right, we're going to put ours in where the pigs were, which we did actually come down here to do in the first place. Once one of the older ones see, they'll all follow. Shout Netto. Carol. Carol's coming. Following like sheep deers, apart from the one over there that's not. Come on, Angus. There we go. Come on, everybody. So yes, we're going to put them in here, which is nice and long for them. Lock them in. One more, and then work on getting the other 4 out. Really? Here, here, here. Come on, you silly sausage.
I'm going to put this back on, aren't I?
Yeah, for now. 2 are out. 2 to go. These don't want to leave. All sorted. Dexter's in the corner, wonder what on earth is going on. The sun is out, as you can see from the shadow. They've just gone back down where the problem is. I don't know if it's coming across how big that actually is on camera, but literally you can see the footprints that are in there. All of these logs that were blocking up this, because this is quite a steep drop from the field that goes off and then down quite a bit to the bottom of the fence there. Quite a steep drop. On the other side of this, it's not actually flowing at the moment because of how dry things have been. This is actually what we call a beck. It's usually flows quite heavy, but it's totally dried up with all the weather, and that's why there's such a drop there, because the previous fence post is that, let's go over and have a look, is that big bit of wood there. These are logs from fell trees that we've just used to block up the entrance, as you can see, kind of way up, nearly fell like that, but obviously it hasn't worked. Something stood on it, pulled it out, fell with the dry ground, and caused a massive gap. So Stephen is using the pallet that we've now taken off where the sheep have just gone in, so they'll just have access to come in and out. So will Dexter if he chooses to. He's taken the pallet off there.
Got about 40 acres of land there.
I know, and they want to be on our little bit. So temporary patch up job. Temporary, lasting a while. Yeah, this bit here is quite gappy, isn't it?
Right, welcome back to another weekend on the Smallholding. Busy weekend for us this weekend. I've got loads of jobs on. Tracy's got loads of jobs on, which she'll tell you about hers. We've just had Maggie out. This is the first time off the lead in the barn, and I don't think she's ready to be mingling with the poultry just yet. Sounds like she'll eat them rather than play with them.
Are they for your tea?
But I'll give you a quick run through. It's Friday night. Thought I'd get a quick start tonight. We'll do hopefully a quick and easy job to get that off the list, because I've got fencing to do, I've got a gate to build, I've got the trailer to spray. So, like I say, busy weekend, got a lot to do. So I want to start by replacing some of these boards in the stable, so I'll show you what I'm on about. So my first job tonight is just to replace these boards in the stables. When we first moved in, we put these stables in a week, after we moved in, so they've been in nearly 10 years and they still look, most of them, pristine. They stood the test of time, except when we moved in we had 4 horses and one of them was a right chewer. And so we kept her in the same stable, obviously, so she didn't chew every other one. So she's made a right meal of these ones, and over the time I've swapped some out, and we had some spares, so I've replaced some spares. But I thought, now she's gone, we'll order some new ones and we'll replace the whole lot. So I'm going to take 20 boards out of this one. We've ordered 20, so I'll replace 20. They actually take about 26. And then I'll just use the best ones from this side to replace them few over there. And then they should last another 10 years with a bit of luck. Right, so they're super simple to fit and replace. All you do is slide them along these 2 top and bottom runners to take out this gap that they leave for you to get them in. Once you get halfway along, you can just tilt them down. But these end few, you just tap them along, slide them out to that end runner, and then same again and again and again. And with your new ones, you just slot them back in. They're all from the same company, so they should be the same size. You slot them back in there, slide them across, and then at the end, you just cut a piece to go in and screw a self tapper in to stop that one moving, and then it's a solid stable again.
As we often find here on the Smallholding, things did not go as easily as maybe they should have done. So Stephen was telling me that with a little bit of gentle persuasion, things would soon be back on track again. And never fear, I was there offering my expert advice as always. But actually on this occurrence, Stephen decided to listen to it.
Hey?
Why don't you take an old one out and try and make it fit not in the runner for now, so you can get an idea about it.
Right, well, who am I kidding? Of course it's not going to be a simple job. So over the 10 years, they must have changed the pattern for the wood, because it won't fit when I'm going in there. And when I've just took one out to fit it, you can see, I don't know if it's catching on camera, it's maybe 3 or 4 mil out. So I might have to try and put these 2 in together, and then the rest should follow on fine, but it's just getting the new ones matched up with the old ones. So I'll have to give that a go, eh?
Have we got enough to replace the whole thing?
No, there's 26 and we only got 20.
Thanks, Hazel. It literally rolled off the carpet into the car.
Like that. And hopefully I can push them both together. So that, I mean, it's not, you've got a little lip there, but a blind man on a galloping horse won't notice that, will he?
Totally fine.
So now hopefully all these should just slot in and be no problem. Like that.
Okay, back to
it.
Back to a quick job.
I hope it's got an out on and let the goats fancy.
Oh, really?
Really. Perfect. Now we're just going to replace them last few in there with the old ones that I took out. One more new one there. And that's it. For the easy job for tonight. Right, so that's that done. Got one job finished anyway for the weekend ahead. Made 2 nice new solid stables. So just took all the old decent ones out of there and just refilled them in there. Cut the short one in there, keep it all solid. Like I say, should last us another 10-15 year. We'll give all this a sweep out tomorrow, and I'm just going to rip these old ones down, take the tongue and grooves off them, and run them all across the bottom of here and in that stable as well, just extra protection to keep the rats out. But be another quick job for tomorrow. Angus, good.
Come on, sheeps.
What we got? What's this?
Come on, Carol. You're not daft, are you? Go on. Go on. We're back in there. Go on. Go on. Go on. No. There we go.
Right. Didn't work, but start again. Right, well, first job of the morning, it's Saturday morning, which wasn't on the list yesterday, but we were just talking about it last night, was to get Dexter on this fresh bit of grass that we've been leaving for about 5 or 6 weeks. And with the rain and the bit of sun we've had, it's just shot up, it's thick, it's green, so hopefully he'll love it. So the first thing we've got to do is section it off, because we don't want him on all these trees. So we're just going to get on with sectioning them off with this electric wire, and we'll hook this up to Sonic's. Plus that'll put him back next to Sonic as well for a bit more company for him. So we'll get on to doing that, and then we'll leave the gate open and see if he comes through. Hey Dexter, are you going to get some new grass? Eh? Are you going to get some new grass? There's no food for you. No food for you. And then it'll pull that corner when we join it to this one as well.
Yeah. So we've got a really old apple tree, crab apple tree there that, to be quite honest, we're surprised that it survived, because if you look at the splits that have happened to it over the years in the storm, it's literally... Dexter's shouting. It's dropping to bits, but it's been really, really good this year actually. So we're going to put the posts in far enough away so that he's kind of not getting those and doesn't ruin the tree or have too much free access to any windfalls.
Pull that tight on there.
So you can see this field is actually, it's looking a lot greener since we've had the rain, but it's really sparse in terms of for Dexter. And in the distance you might be able to see our neighbour over the river there. His fields are super sparse as well. Some of them they've been resting, so it's been such a dry year, but this last lot of rain that we've had has made quite a bit of difference. And the grass that Dexter's going on, it is only a temporary measure really. It's just to kind of, just to eat this down. You can see it's a lot longer, especially over there. There's a lot of tufts and things like that. So basically you'll just eat this down. And then what's the plan once he's been on here?
Yeah, we'll leave him on here for 2 or 3 weeks, give the paddock a chance while the temperatures are still above 6 degrees. That'll grow in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll move him back onto there, and then we'll just keep rotating. Let's get this wire on. Right, well, we've got one strand of wire on. We're just going to hook it up to Sonic's pen, and then when we electrify this, it should just run the voltage all the way through. But I don't know if we've got enough to go all the way back, so we might have to sort some of that when we get back there, but we shall see. Well, how low do you want to go?
Yeah, just that one's one. Fine. So yeah, these are both electric fence posts, but this one's higher, the taller ones.
So we don't have nowhere near enough.
There's actually a load in the field.
Alright.
Down there, if you remember from when we did the field. Pretty sure there is.
We'll get that one.
You've just dropped some.
Right, now we've got all that fence hooked up and joined up to Sonic's paddock. We're just going to change the battery. We did have it running off this battery initially, which is what it's for, but we got the electric converter with it. And because it's close to the workshop, I can hook it up to the mains. It won't actually be sending 240 volts through the wire. It does take the voltage down through this converter here. So we'll hook that up, get the gate open and get him in. I'm going to be working in here anyway, putting a fence up, so I'll be able to keep an eye on him. I'll show you what I've got on in a second when I get this sorted out.
How do we know it's definitely stepped the voltage down?
You can touch it and find out. Right, it's all hooked up, so we'll give it a test. Okay, you can hear it from here. So plenty of electricity going through that. I mean, he does respect the fences anyway, even when they're not electrified, so hopefully he'll respect it in here, especially when Sonic's in there. But only time will tell. We'll get the gate open, try and get him in. Alright, Bean. What are you doing? You come and give me a hand. Yeah? You come give me a hand. Have you? Right, I'll be in my way. Right, now I'll get back onto my first job of the day. So we've decided what we're doing with this area. So we're going to deck it out to about, we're going to deck it out to about here, and then from here onwards is going to be a big flower bed to hide all that rubbish and all that manky concrete work off the car park. So the decking's going to hopefully sit flush with that curbstone there, come out, and then I'm going to replace this fence here with a new fence that you can see on the floor there. I've already marked it out with the fence rails. So that's going to be the area that I'm just fencing off now, and the new post is going to come just inside this fence. We are going to eventually replace this fence and put a proper farm gate in so we can get like the car and stuff in and out easier, but that's a job for a different day. So first job of the day is just get this fence made, get the railings on, get the posts in, and hopefully mesh it up with something that I can find to keep the dogs from getting out. So I'll get on with that while Tracy goes and gets on what she's doing.
Well, and now to stop Dexter getting in as well, because he's going to be, the gate that Dexter's coming in from is literally just around the corner there. So Stephen's going to be working in here, keeping an eye on when Dexter comes in as well. We've got the pony out, he's out just off camera there. Nice pleasant day, getting on with this.
I'm going to get these clothes off straight out now.
So the area that Stephen was talking about along here, that's currently covered in the black plastic, etc. This is all going to be Grace's new flower bed area. She's going to be looking after that for us, isn't she? Yeah. So hopefully, well, one, it's less of a job for Stephen and I.
And she's already put an order in for her own greenhouse. So,
oh yeah, yeah. Not literally, she hasn't actually bought one. She's put an order in with Stephen, he means. So we're keeping an eye out on Marketplace what she's going to be using anyway. But this, all the way along, will be hopefully fantastic flowers, and she'll use that for her cut flower garden, like she's got going on in the veg plot as well. I have a feeling we're just going to end up getting kicked out and she's just going to be running the show.
Yeah, we'll see.
While Stephen's getting on with that, I'm out in the garden harvesting certainly what we're going to be eating today, and also some other things that we're going to be preserving. And by the baked potato or winter squash that we've got, which if you guys follow our gardening videos, you'll know we absolutely love. And I think we're going to get another week out of growing on them. You could harvest them now. Some people have already harvested them. They're a really peculiar thing to them. They're bigger, they're different shapes and sizes. I really do think there's been something strange going on with the seeds that we've got. Anyway, all that's for another day. We're not going to be harvesting any of those just yet. I'm getting tomatoes now from outside. I didn't quite know how many there was going to be, but there's absolutely loads, so certainly more than we're going to need for today. But I'm going to be getting some harvested to take in later to roast, and I'm just going to be making just some basic sort of vegetable tomato based sauce that we can then preserve for the winter. There's loads of spinach and all sorts of other things that I'm going to get harvesting as well. Well, I've been working in the garden harvesting at least what we're going to be eating today, but also what we're going to be getting to preserve over the next sort of weeks and a few days, etc. But if you remember on a previous video, we showed you one of the chickens coming into the shed here and she'd laid an egg. I think there was maybe one or two at the time. Anyway, I'm just coming back to get some eggs because obviously we're having them for lunch. Let's see how many she's laid. I think we can safely say this is her hidey hole, so I'm going to be collecting these and this is going to be forming the basis for our lunch. Next up, I'm harvesting our jalapenos. So these are an early variety. I've left them go super ripe, some of them on the plant purposefully. I've also got some that are more green and, well, ones that are just turning, but these plants, as you can see, are coming to the end of their happy life. I've got quite a few more up here that I'm going to be getting as well. So basically anything that's left is getting harvested for today, and we will be making like a cowboy candy type dish with these, which we really enjoy as a topping.
Right, well, the good news is we've got all the fence finished. It's all concreted in, all solid. We've just put this stock fencing up and tied it in with some of these, just a temporary fix to keep the dogs from getting out. So that's the good news. The bad news is we let Dexter in, and instead of eating all this lush grass, he took a beeline straight for the horse chestnut tree and started eating the conkers. So we googled it and it says conkers are extremely poisonous to cattle. So we're going to have to do something. We put him back in the field and we're going to have to do something about that tomorrow, because these are just starting to fall off now and he's just picking them up.
Conkers.
So one option is we pull all the conkers off and throw them in the other part, or we fence it off with something, but his area's getting smaller and smaller and smaller as we speak.
Thank you. Don't drop them on the floor.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Do you mind? Run in, pick these up, no animals get them.
Right, well, now we've got the fence done and all dogs secure, it's time to secure this bit. So this gate has been working fine for years until we got Maggie, our little dog. And as you can see, she was thin enough to get through the gap, so we've just put that there, and thin enough to crawl under the bottom, so we've just put that. So it's time to make a new gate. So a few people have asked how you make gates when I've been making gates around the place, so hopefully I'll get a bit on video. Tracy's leaving me to my own devices, so I'll just do a few measurements, get into my workshop and knock a new gate up. Right, so it's just a quick demo of how we make our gates around here. 90% of the gates that I've made, this is how they're made. Takes about half an hour to shot a gate together, depending on how finicky you want to be, but this is just a quick rough guide. So first of all, you measure the gate, so it's 93 centimetres, so we're going to cut 93 centimetre cross sections of the wood. Normally, depending on the gate size, if they're only a short gate, I'll just put 2 in, but because this one's quite long, I'm going to use 3. So I've just got one at this end, one at this end. I've left a 10 centimetre overhang at this end from the floor, and then the top bit, depending on the size of your post, wherever you're putting it, you've got to go on that height. So this one's like 140. So then you get your cross sections all lined up, get it all squared up with a square, stick a few screws in, and then we'll get on to the next step. Right, so now I've got the 2 side panels into the gate, so it's a bit secure. You can move it about without worrying if it's going to get out of shape. I'm just going to put the middle one in. So just slide that middle one in. Now you've got it all squared up anyway, you can just square the ends up so they're nice and flush, and get the tape measure and make sure it's exactly in the middle. So I just measure the gaps up until I get it to where I want it, so that it's dead in the centre. Just screw that in. Right, so then when you're at this position, obviously these are your 2 side bits of your gate. You're going to board up the middle, and I'm going to arch the top end, so I don't need to worry about how tall it is at the minute, as long as you've got this bottom bit right. So it's like I said, it's a 10 centimetre overhang, so it's pretty rigid. You don't want it up here so you've got too much bottom, because they'll all just start bowing. So you put your bottom board in with about 10 centimetre overhang, get the middle bits in, so you've got your basic structure of your gate. Now we're going to need to put the diagonal pieces in to make it rigid when it's hanging on the post. So I've noticed on that gate that's out there, the diagonal's the wrong way around. Wherever you put your hinges, your diagonal wants to be running from the opposite end up downwards towards your hinge. That stops it sagging when it's hanging on the hinges. So the way we get that is just flip it over. So this gate's going to be hanging on the hinges on this side, so we're going to make the cross sections obviously coming from that end down to this end. So all we do for that, get a piece of wood, put it where you want it to each corner, make sure it's touching the corners, and then you get yourself a nice sharpened pencil, which this one isn't. So you just get yourself a nice sharpened short pencil, and then you can get under each corner and mark it off. You just make your pencil marks. You can even do it with a screw and scratch it in. And if you turn them over, you'll be able to see your pencil marks that you've made. And just get a straight edge and join them up. And then we'll cut them out. Just cut them out on the miter saw, bring it back over to your gate, line them up, and then that'll be your one cross section for this side. We'll get that all screwed up in a second, and I'll make exactly the same for the other end. Right, so now we're at that point, it's pretty much a gate. You just have to fill in the gaps, take it out and get it up. So just flip it over now, get your other boards for it. So we're just going to line them all up to where you want your gaps. We don't want it a solid gate because the wind comes down that alleyway where it's going, so you need to leave some gaps for the wind to blow through. So that looks about right. So I'll just get all that measured up properly, get them all screwed in, and be back with you in a minute. Right, so that's the main part of it done. Before I curve the top, I'm just going to take it outside and make sure it fits. Right, well it fits and it's square, so that's one tick off the list. So like I said in there, it doesn't matter where I've put the cross beams because I'm going to be taking these hinge brackets off and putting this one here at the bottom. It's just where it was on this old gate. And as you can see, the old gate had the diagonal section going that way, going away from the posts, where you want it, going away from the hinges, sorry, where you want it like, I've done it there, going towards the hinges so it stops it sagging at this side. So once I've get these hinges and brackets off here, take them down my workshop, fit them where I need to on here, bring it back, shut it on. Well, there you go folks, a new gate. Took more than half an hour than we were supposed to take because we nipped out to see something, but I think it made a pretty good job. The only test now will be whether the dog can get underneath it or not. Cool.
This is what we stopped Stephen partway through his gate making project to go and see. There was something very special happening that we took the kids over to have a look at because it was really local and a historical event. So 200 years ago, right here in the northeast of England, the world changed forever. On the 27th of September 1825, the Locomotion No. 1 set off from Shildon and steamed its way to Stockton, becoming the first steam locomotive to carry passengers on a public railway. People lined the tracks in their thousands. Farmers, labourers, miners, families, many of whom had never seen a machine move without a horse or an ox before. And that moment didn't just launch the railway age, it reshaped rural life. Smallholders, farmers, market gardeners suddenly had a way to send milk, wool, eggs, produce to towns before it spoiled. And instead of waiting on horse and carts and cold mornings, feed, coal and everyday goods could come back to the farms in a fraction of the time. For the first time, the ordinary working folk could reach markets and jobs beyond what a pair of boots could walk to. To think that the fields we tend today aren't so different from those that stood beside the tracks in 1825. Back then, the sound of the locomotive would have been as startling to the animals as it is thrilling to the crowds today. And now, 2 centuries later, we're watching the same iron pioneer pass through the landscape it helped to transform. The locomotion didn't just move people, it truly carried the countryside into the modern world.
Very unspectacular one.
Got him on my head, thanks. Yeah, where did they go?
Oh. No impressive ones, look at that.
Yeah, it's not ready to open. Oh, it's a double.
Most of them are. Triple.
Triple? Taking twice as long, so I'm opening each one. You are never too old to go conquering, and that's what Stephen and I kept getting distracted by when we were chopping back the unsafe bits for Dexter off the horse chestnut tree, and any of the conkers that were coming off, we were making sure that we removed those. Of course, he checked it out as soon as he walked in. There you go, Stephen.
All that grass.
Off to bed that night and looking out the window just to make sure that he hadn't escaped.
Right, so now this stable's empty, I'm just going to use it as storage, so I'm just going to try and block it off as much as I can because it'll just become a rat run once we get all the stuff in here, and the rats will just love it. So I'm just going to use all the old boards that I took out, rip them down so they're nice and flat and clean, and I'm just going to block all the edges up the sides of these girders where it's not flush, right to the top, so it just makes it as hard as possible to get any rats in. We can't stop them totally, but we'll just do the best we can.
We had a few things to be getting on with this next day, but yet we were still distracted. So in the area where we'd thrown the conkers into, where there's no animals, it is becoming full of mushrooms. This is where we had the muck heaps last year and the ducks, and so we kind of got distracted again by yet more conkers because this was actually a separate conker tree. It wasn't the ones that we'd thrown in, and they were prolific this year. Oh, it's a double again. Oh, triple. Another triple.
Only you'll get this one single conker. That's how it works.
A quad? It's a quad?
Oh, I thought you said it's one.
It's ridiculously windy still outside. This is Storm Amy that's passing through. We've had worse, but it's always worrying because of the amount of trees and things that we've got around the barn and where the animals are. But fingers crossed, touch wood, all of that stuff, everything's okay at the moment. But it's high time that I made a banana bread in the bread maker. I couldn't think what it was called then. Or a banana cake, I guess maybe is what it's called. This is just a Panasonic bread maker. It does all sorts of different things in it. I use it more often than not just for the breads. But today I've got some bananas that need using, and the kids have both said we really fancy one. So I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go. I haven't got all the ingredients, obviously, so I'm going to substitute where I can. I'll quickly show you what I'm going to put in and then what it turns out like. I do like bread in the bread maker because it's just to throw it all in, whereas this making a sort of more cake is using a bowl and cream and the butter and sugar first. I've got 2 eggs from the Smallholding, obviously, and instead of adding chocolate pieces or raisins, I've got some of this milk chocolate spread, which is nut free. At least I'm going to double check it was last time that we had this. Anyway, so my daughter can have that. So we'll be using that instead of raisins or chocolate drops, and I'm going to add in just all the usual now. We're going to have some flour. I might have some nutmeg in if I can, because she can have that. Anyway, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. This is where I'm got to, but the eggs are from here, so I'm really pleased about that because the chickens are slowing down on the egg production now. Looks like a beautiful mess. This is natural yogurt. I've put a bit of nutmeg in and some chocolate pieces that I just had lying around of one of the kids. Anyway, so I'm going to mix all that together, and then what I'm going to do is spoon half of it in, swirl some of this through, and then spoon the rest in and just put it on bake mode. Basically, you're creating the cake in the bowl and then just baking it in the bread maker by the look of it. Don't worry, I didn't forget the bananas. I've got 3 bananas in here. Right, I've warmed up a little bit now. I'm going to be doing some apple chutney in the slow cooker this afternoon, very hands off. I'm using this book for inspiration, which is the one and only Marguerite Patton, the voice of ration era cooking. Anyway, we're doing a very bog standard apple chutney. I've got about 2 pounds when cored and peeled of cooking apples, which have come straight off the tree out the back there. These literally, there's going to be so many more on the floor after the storm that's been going on. The chickens are going to be having a field day, and I'm just going through the spice rack and seeing what I've got bits and pieces left over. Can you see that sort of the last of the cloves that I've got there? I do have another one unopened, which I'll start using once these are done, and we're getting into that season, aren't we? So I'm going to be making up just a basic pickling spice mix. Some people buy them already. I'm going to show you what I'm putting in that, and I've got these little tiny bags that I got a year or 2 ago for doing your homemade tea blends, but we ended up doing it just using, we've got a little teapot with a strainer in it, so you don't need to waste any of these. So I'm going to use these for spice mix bags, because basically all of the spices will go into there, tie that, and then put this in with everything else. So slow cooker is warming up, because this recipe does say that you need to chop the onions and put in with half the amount of the vinegar and simmer them for 10 minutes. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just literally going to bung it all in and see how it turns out, because if it works well, it's going to be very hands off, and I'll be able to do that every year. The sugar and the vinegar are the preservatives in this chutney that I'm making, so I don't need to worry about water backing it or anything like that at the end, so that's a bonus. Literally taking onions from the garden, white malt vinegar. I actually bought, oh my goodness, this size, I think, is that 5 litres? I got 2 of those for a different reason. This is okay for cooking as well as for whatever else you might need it for. Because some of my cast iron has gone rusty, being outside and left in the wind and the rain, and there's a way of using the vinegar to get that clean that I'm going to do. I'm going to get to that. I was supposed to get to that during the holidays that we had. It didn't happen. Anyway, so get the right ingredients here. So onions, vinegar, cooking apples, the pickling spices. We're doing a soft light brown sugar, and I'm going to use some raisins. You can use any sort of other dried fruit that you think might work. We have got raisins because I've been buying them every week when I go to the supermarket as kind of a preparation for Christmas. The kids like them as well, so fingers crossed this one will work. I won't peel the apples until I'm ready to put them in because they'll start going brown. I don't want to faff on with lemon juice and things, so I'm going to make the spice bag first. I'll show you what's in that, and then we'll get everything in and just leave it and see how it turns out. Right, okay, so you can, if you want, measure these. In fact, let me get a teaspoon. Just going to use a long teaspoon to make it easier to put them in the bag. I'm going to start off with a cinnamon stick because this is going to be more slightly sweeter. Come on, come out. In fact, that one's a bit smaller. Will it fit in the bag? Just on an angle. Leave it there. And we're going to do some half a teaspoon or thereabouts of whole black peppercorns. I'm going to do the same of coriander seeds. What's going to happen? They're going to end up going all over, so I'm just doing it carefully on the top. Mustard seeds, yellow mustard seeds, and just a couple of cloves. Now, I think, is it pregnant ladies that need to be careful with cloves? Anyways, do your research, never rely on me for anything. The mustard seeds quite funny because I've got an absolute ton of mustard seeds in the pantry. Don't ask, hang on, that's not right, that's right. And then the other thing that I'm going to grab is a bay leaf and put a bay leaf in there, and I think that's probably about it. If I had some allspice berries, which I don't think I do. No, I've only got ground allspice. Oh no, that's not true. They are literally sat on top of the, I thought I'd ordered some for something. This was last year and never got to them, so I'm just going to put in, they smell very Christmassy. I'm just going to put in that, you know, literally that amount. I don't want to overpower it and create it. Oh, I need the bay leaf in there. So apart from that, that's the spice bag done, and then we're going to get the rest of the ingredients ready. Grabbed a bay leaf from a little bay tree that we've got out the front that was given to us off a friend because he didn't need it anymore, which is really appreciated because ours, as you know if you watch the gardening stuff out the back, is done for. Grabbed a bay leaf from a little bay tree that we've got out the front that was given to us off a friend because he didn't need it anymore, which is really appreciated because ours, as you know if you watch the gardening stuff out the back, is done for. I'm just putting half the vinegar in for now, and I'm going to get this on. I'm not going to cover it up whilst I get the apples chopped. Absolute corkers, beautiful layout. Right, what I have decided is I've been using the lemon and water solution because at first I was thinking, well, it's not going to matter if the apple's brown because they're going to change colour and brown in the final product anyway. But it's taken me like 23 days just to peel these few apples. I know you can get the apple peelers where you put them on the top and you turn it around. I find they only work if you've got like totally symmetrical apples, and I mean really that's the last thing that we've got. So I don't mind peeling them and just being a little bit harsh with the peeling in terms of you know, quite a thick peelings. These will all go back on the compost. Yes, you can absolutely make apple cider vinegar using the scraps if you want to. I'm not doing that with every single batch that we've got, otherwise we would be swimming in the stuff. So I'm literally just kind of chopping them up into that ish size pieces. No, you know, I'm not measuring anything. Stephen would, of course, if he was here. So I'm just literally popping them in. This lemon, 1 part lemon to 3 parts water, I think I did. Again, no measurements, just shoved it in. And then I'm just giving them a swish round to make sure that they're all coated before transferring them to the slow cooker. So any bits that I can salvage I'm throwing in as well. But what I will do at the end is go and grab another couple of apples, I think, just to make up for obviously the peelings and the cores. But at the moment that slow cooker is looking rather full, so that might have gone down a little bit by the time I get to the last couple. And then I'll show you what it looks like. We'll put the muslin bag in with all of the pickling spices in, and then we'll just leave it and just see what happens. At the end of the day, if it's not amazing, it'll still get used, even just in cooking, you know, things like curries and things like that. So I'm not worried in the slightest from that point of view. We should be good. My goodness, the wind is whistling. Right, so this is what it's looking like at the moment, and I haven't added those extra apples that you've just seen. But what I am going to do, because I'm bothered about overflow, is add in the sugar now and the rest of the vinegar. just over the top of that to kind of help it, encourage it to go down. So they're the preserving agents that are going to be in there. Spread that around, mix it in, and then I'm going to add, because that will create a lot of liquid in itself, the apples and the sugar especially. And then I'm literally going to add in the rest of the apples and the raisins, but I think I'll do the raisins first because they'll kind of scatter in the gaps. Right, we'll just grab those. Right, last of the ingredients, we've got the muslin bag, which has got all of the spices in that you guys saw. I'm going to make a little home for that in the middle. That's going to get fully submerged. We've got the raisins. If this recipe works out, I'll leave the ingredients in the description at the bottom, and then I've got the last of the apples, which are in, if you can see just off camera, they're still in that liquid there, so I'm just going to literally put them as close as I can. I'm using a slotted spoon to just take them out and add them on the top. As I say, I'm going to leave the lid off this because the idea is as well that you don't want to kind of let the moisture stay in there. We want this to thicken and cook down so that it's more of like a thick chutney rather than more saucy. But to be quite honest, we'll take whatever we get. Making a right old nose with this, aren't I? Okay, last one, last one. There we go. Let's see how we get on. I'm not even going to try and stir that at the moment. There we go. Do your thing. There you go, an hour and 30 that took in total. It's very hot. The banana bread was very well received, so I'm chuffed to bits with that. We had guests on the night who said it was delicious as well.
Right, so we're finally finished with the barn winter projects. So we've got the pony moved into the end stable, we got the goats moved into their new stable, which freed up 2 stables here. So I got finished with the cladding around the back, which I was on with to make it a bit more secure for the rats, as secure as we can. So this stable is just going to be used for storage. It's got the bedding in for the pony and the goats, it's got the straw in, which we use for the chickens and the ducks. The rest of the stuff I've just put in nice and neat in case we need to put anything else in. So that's this stable. The next stable, we're just going to use that for storage for the hay, for the ponies and the goats and Dexter. So we just put the bales in there. When we get any more delivered, we'll just roll them in here. It's a bit of a nightmare to get them through the door, they are a bit wide, but after a bit of pushing and pulling, we get them in. So that's all done. And we've managed to actually clean up the whole barn. We can actually see a clear floor for 2 reasons. One, in case we need to store any vehicles in here if it gets really cold over the winter, and 2, because we've finally finished our trailer project. So here it is, our new addition to the Smallholding family. It's actually had nothing in it yet, it's all nice and clean still, so I'll just give you a run round, show you what we did to it. If you can remember what it was like when we picked it up, we couldn't even get the back door open. So I'll give you a run round, show you what we did, point a few things out, and then tell you how much it cost us. Right, so when we bought this trailer, we bought it off a good friend who had kept it in a barn dry for the last about 20 years. So we knew that it was structurally sound, but the only way we could get in was inside the side door to check the floor. Because the back door, the hinge of it, was all rusted shut and we couldn't get in. So when we brought it home, that was the first port of call. So after a good couple of hours of bashing and whacking and a full tin of WD-40, we managed to finally get it open. Some movement. Hey! First obstacle. Right, so first thing we did when we got it open was just clean it all out, jet wash it all, give it all a good clean, leave it outside for a few hours. It was a nice day and let it dry. Then I got on to the woodwork. So these 2 railings were all loose, all the bolts were loose, some of them were rotten. So I just took off all the rotten bits, replaced the wood, tightened up all the bolts, replaced some of the bolts which needed replacing, and then we ended up with a perfect couple of fences for our trailer. Right, so like I say, the inside was absolutely spot on. It was just as solid as the outside. So the only thing I had to do on the floor was replace this piece of wood down here. It was all rotten. These two at the side and at the back were spot on for some reason, but for some reason this one had just rotten. So all I did was rip that out, grinded the bolts off, and then got a new piece of wood, sprayed it, painted it up, bolted it on, and that just was basically all I had to do was the inside, apart from give it a good spray out and scrape the walls. Like I say, the floor's solid, the walls are solid, chuffed to bits with the inside. So once I got done with all the woodwork and all the inside, concentrated on the outside. So all this was a bit flaky, rusting on the metal. So we just got the metal brush out, whizzed it over all that, and then give it a go, and then give it a nice few coats of spray, and I think it's come up a treat. Right, well, Maggie's going to be joining us for the rest of this trailer tour because she just got out of the garden and touched the pony's electric fence and give herself a bit of a shock, haven't you?
Quite literally.
Right, so I think I was saying, not the paintwork, everything on the trailer that was green originally when we got it, and it was a bit flaky and rusty. We've just whizzed it all off with the wire brush on the grinder, and then we've sprayed it up with another green. I think it's fir green it was. But so everything green on the stable, so everything green on the trailer we've done, I think it's come up spot on. So the next thing we got on with was the lights. We were trying to save the lights that were on it, but they were absolutely shot. So we just bought some new, a whole new lighting loom off Amazon, and we've just replaced the two lights, ran it under, nailed it to the floor, which goes out the front and then hooks into your car. So that's all the back done, so we'll move on to the wheels and tyres. Right, so the biggest job on this trailer was the wheels, the tyres and the brakes. Everything on it was shot. The brake shoes were shot, all the brake cable was all rotten and snapped. Luckily the wheels still turned, so the hubs and everything were all right. So just whipped all the wheels off, sanded them all off, sprayed them all up. Took us ages to find some brakes that actually fit, but we finally did. My dad came over, he took all the tension and springs and all that out, and we oiled all them up. I didn't think when he took them off there was any saving them. But he did the business and he's got them all working, and they work absolutely spot on. So we had to actually tip the whole trailer up on its back end to do all the brake cables to make everything easier. So while it was up there as well, we've sprayed all the underneath with some underseal, so we've undersealed all that. So this should outlive us, this trailer now. So another little problematic area on the trailer was this front part here. So the hitch worked absolutely fine, but the jockey wheel didn't work and the handbrake didn't work because that's attached to the brakes and all the cable was knackered. All these little wheels that the cable runs through, they were all seized up, so we had to strip all them down and free all them up. So like again, we grinded all this off with the steel wire, and we just left this one uncovered. This was green originally, you can see the green paint, but I thought it looked better like that. This was painted green, so we just left that like that because I thought that looked better like that. So we took the whole jockey wheel off, stripped all that down, filled it with oil, sanded it all down, filled it with oil, left it, so that works absolutely spot on now. Nice and smooth, up and down, and that's pretty much it, what we did with the front. And then again, we sanded all this green paint work down because all this was flaking off. All this was flaking off on this metal, so we had all that spray grinded off and cleaned up. We didn't bother touching any of the galvanised stuff because it was just a massive job, and I wasn't getting into that once I started. The one bit I did fall foul on really was I was going to start doing all this galvanised stuff, but like I said, it was just going to take absolutely ages. I did take a couple of stickers off that were on it, and I thought, oh, that looks nice, shiny underneath. And then when I got round to it, I was like, no, it was just going to be too much of a job. So I have bodged that bit up a bit, but over time it'll probably discolour and blend in with the rest of it. So that was that, and then we just finished it off with our logo. So if you ever see us flying around with it on the back, give us a wave or a honk your horn or something. But yeah, that's it. Chuffed to bits with it. We've had it out on the car, just around the car park, just to see if everything works. Everything works absolutely fine. So our first planned outing in it is we've been offered some free wood, and now we've got this beauty. We can pretty much pick up as much as we like. So that's the trailer done, dusted, settled nicely in the barn for the winter, unless we need to use it. So that's it, the end of the winter barn project and the end of the trailer project. Chuffed to bits. What do you think, Mag? Right, well, we've just had a delivery of something really important, which I'll show you in a minute. But I forgot yesterday to say how much we actually spent overall on the trailer rebuild or revamp. So in total, with everything in, that's the cost of the trailer, the tyres, the brakes, the cables, the clips, the spray and the stickers. A total, all in all, was £597. So that was at least half of what we've seen online for a trailer in reasonable condition to that. So of that 597, £54 went on the stickers, which we didn't need. It was a bit of a splurge, but we're proud of what we've got going on here, so we thought, why not advertise it? Anyway, so that's all trailer thing, finished, done, and ready to rock.
And with that, this video is already getting to be almost an hour long, so we really hope you've enjoyed it and have stuck with us for this long. If you have, you deserve a medal. Thank you so much for supporting us and continuing to watch the videos. Autumn is well underway, the harvests are keeping coming in, the days are growing shorter and the evenings are drawing us closer to the fire. But life on a small holding never stands still. So thank you for watching and we really hope to see you next week.